Good evening, race fans. My name is Finny Fitzsimmons, on behalf of Team Goon Squad. Here is League 0, the Formula 3 Series. Round 2 here tonight at Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. As we pull up now our race information here today. As I said before, Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. We have a track length of 2.6 miles here today with a massive backstretch. There's going to be a lot of drafting, however it is very difficult to make the overtake down into the final corner. So you need to make sure you get right up on their rear end. Out of that final hairpin before you head down to the final chicane, as it looks like we've just finished qualifying here today. So we'll go through our grid for tonight. On pole position we have Nick Beaver followed by Mika Barnett. In P2 Brandon Doohan followed by Nick Peterson, Antonio Bianchi followed by Jared Ziegler, Jared Duckwall starting 7th, Connor Scribner starting 8th followed by Peter Rettinger starting 9th, Scott Cummins starting 10th, John Kasai starting 11th, Xavier Sainave starting P12, P13, the world-famous Australian Gareth McAllister starting P13, followed by Michael Fairchild P14, Frankie Facicia starting 15th, followed by Chase Small starting 16th, followed by Michael B. Scott starting in P17, followed by Felipe F. Ramos in P18, followed by Philip Troyer, Kenneth Kudak, followed by Levi Optitz, Stephen Hill, and to roll out the grid today in 23rd place, Tristan Bogart. Let's now get ready for our race start here today. Just in time, as the lights go green here today. And now it looks like Beaver is off to a good start on the inside line. Brandon Doohan just behind, has to settle in further behind. Looking further back, a little bit of a battle going on. Antonio Bianchi on the outside line gets a little bit wide. Jared Ziegler been able to make his way through. He's now too wide with Jake Duckwell coming into turn 3. Jake Duckwell on the inside in the Ferrari scheme. Bianchi now on the inside for the second apex, but it looks like Duckwell is just able to get through there. Now, Antonio Bianchi not off to a good start. Michael Barnett's having another look down the inside there. Just can't quite make it. However, he switched back to our leader, Nick Beaver, with a really good start there. Brandon Doohan, though, he is still pretty close behind, and he could still be getting the draft down this straight. And he definitely could make some moves later on in this lap. We'll have to wait and see. However, it's really important for Beaver to make sure he keeps it all in one piece. A good first lap, and he can break out the draft. Will do dividends later on, as that pressure is just taken off him. He's able to relax just a little bit more. However, he has the 96 of Brandon Doohan. 5/10 behind him in his rear view mirror. Will Doohan be able to get a good exit and get onto the rear end of Beaver? We'll have to wait and see. It's now switching on board of Brandon Doohan here in second place. You can see going down this backstretch. It's a very, very tricky final chicane to get right. You have the Wall of Champions bearing on you on the right hand side. It's so easy to hit if you're caught off guard. However, it looks like all drivers are able to get through there pretty nicely. As we switch further back though, Peter Rettinger is now too wide with Scott Cummins going down the motor straightaway, with John Kasai as well. Trying to block off, trying to split the lanes, trying to make sure he doesn't lose the positions. John Kasai around the outside has got Cummins there, making great work. Being able to stay ahead further back. Peter Rettinger on the outside line there, which turns to the inside of Gareth McAllister, the world famous Australian. World famous Australian, I say that once again. Gareth McAllister is up 2 spots from where he began. A good start for him in the 25. As it looks like Rettinger there having a little bit of a lock-up coming into that corner. Gareth McAllister's going to have a look coming down the main straight, or the back straight even now. Let's now go into the third and final chicane. Round the outside, Gareth McAllister goes. Getting the move done, using absolutely all the track on that inside line, which I've heard drivers are struggling with a little bit. It is very, very sketchy around this track. There are some curves that you want to take and some that you want to avoid. There is some battling going on further behind as well. Michael Fairchild down the inside, as they're able to stay ahead as well. As we have a little bit of a battle for the lead, or in second place, excuse me. Nick Peterson is down the inside of Brandon Doohan, getting the move done into the final chicane, showing us that it can be done. However, Jared Ziegler's also got a good exit here. As we're now heading down towards turn 1, he's going to look down to the inside line, but it looks like Brandon Doohan is better on the brakes there and is able to hold it around the outside. Coming out of that corner, it's another really important track zone traction zone, excuse me, for these drivers. It's very easy to spin up those rear tyres, which is not what you want to do. And if you do, you lose loads of time. Although it is a very short straight, it's a point where you could make up a lot of time if you get it perfect nearly every lap. As we're still sitting on board with Jared Ziegler here, you can just see how close these drivers are together, taking pretty much identical lines through these corners. Now coming in through the final chicane, another very tricky braking zone to gauge right. It's very easy to outbrake yourself, so it looks like there was a micro lockup for Brandon Doohan in front. Looks like he wasn't affected by it too much, but too much of that will hurt his tyres. It is a 24 lap feature race here today. So any kind of tyre saving, or less abuse of the tyres so to say, will pay you later on in the race. However, Ziegler is only 1/10 behind. He could size up a move here coming into the final chicane. They go too wide down the back straightaway here. The 57 machine on the outside line coming into the final few corners. They're still too wide going to chicanes. He gets squeezed on the inside there. Not much he could do. Brandon Doohan able to hold the position at least for now. However, Ziegler's back in the draft once again. Will he switch to the inside? Will he go to the outside? He goes down to the inside of turn 1. Very last minute move there, trying to poke his nose in. Brandon Doohan around the outside, able to hold it though. But it looks like Ziegler's able to get the switch back on him there. Had a little bit of a look, wasn't quite able to get it done however. Still bumper to bumper now, or front wing to rear wing should I say, in these Formula 3 cars here today. Going through the second chicane now. So it looks like there's a bit of a dive down behind. As it looks like we have a little bit of a pack forming here. All the way from third place down to P7 here today. A little bit of a gap to John Kasai and P8 behind. As it looks like now, Barnett is going to try down the inside of the hairpin. Antonio Bianchi can't do too much to defend that once he's got that inside line. He's able to make it stick. The only thing Bianchi now can do is hope that he can get in the draft and get a good exit out of the hairpin, which I think he has done. We're down the main straightaway. Braking into the hairpin isn't quite close enough, but if he can get a good exit out of here, he could have a chance into turn 1. Unfortunately, Antonio Bianchi isn't quite able to make that moves. He wasn't quite close enough going into that first corner. As we switch back to our leader though, Nick Beaver stretching out a 2.3 second gap now behind Nick Peterson. However, Nick Peterson went just a little bit faster that time by with a 1:31.97. So at the moment, Nick Peterson in P2 does have the fastest lap. However, it's not by much. These two drivers were almost identical in pace last lap, as I just said. Here on lap 5 of 24, it's sizing up to be a good battle here in this top 10. However, Nick Peterson, although he does have to worry about that gap ahead, he wants to make sure he makes this, or stays as close as possible. He doesn't want to take too many risks, because if he makes a mistake, goes off track, for example, in the first sector, Brandon Doohan could be right on his rear end once again. In no time at all. He is still in that zone where he could profit on any mistakes he may make. As we switch back to Felipe Ramos here, it looks like he's getting very close to the back of Xavier Sainave. The Sainave does make a little bit of a mistake into turn 1, does have a micro lockup. And it looks like Ramos may have a chance. He can't quite make it, however. Have to wait another lap to see if he can get another chance there. But he get very, very close. And the move could still be on if he can size up into the braking zone. It looks like Zaynab goes defensive into the corner. Was able to deter Ramos from diving down the brakes, as he still managed to get on them in good time. Zaynab, oh, was Ramos, excuse me, having almost a lethal snap there coming out of the second chicane. It looks like Ramos is now under threat from Chase Small. In the 5 machine has a look down the inside. Over Zaynab. Ramos, I keep getting them mixed up. They have the same colour cars. As it looks like Ramos there did not fall for the trick. However, Small now 1.5 tenths behind. So you may have to try a side up and move now. So you move to the outside down the back straight. Will he be able to get the position made? I think he does. I don't think Ramos can fight back from that one. Chase Small up into 13th place. I just had an update further back. It looks like Ramos was able to get past Chase Small there. So Chase Small in the 5 machine is back behind Ramos. As it looks like Micah Barnett is getting quite close now to the rear of Jack Duckwell. As he right on board with it now, coming to the final hairpin. Ooh, lock up for both our drivers there. It looks like Duckwell suffer from it just a little bit more. However, they get pretty equal exits here. Although Barnett will have that slipstream coming down the back straight. And if he's smart, stays behind through the final chicane, he may have a chance coming into turn 1. However, he goes down the inside into the chicane. Will he be able to make it stick? He does have the inside line, as he does. Duckwell, however, will have the exit, as Barnett did have to compromise his line. Duckwell then, as he gets closer and closer, 1.5 tenths the gap. Will he have a look? No. He chooses to stay in behind this time by, and maybe size up a move in the next lap. As he moves further back though, it looks like Brandon Dewan has been able to get back onto the rear end of Nick Peterson. We're right on board once again with Brandon Dewan here. As he inches ever closer. 8 tenths the gap between Nick Dewan and Nick Peterson. Bear in mind though, in this 24 lap race we will have to pit for fuel. So with that pit stop, will they try and push it to the end, or will they try and time their pit stop with the drivers around them? Obviously, without taking tyres, it won't make much of a difference. As it looks like, on the last lap, Tristan Vaughan got a little bit of a hiccup. Let's see what happened for him in the AlphaTauri machine. So it looks like as he's coming into the first chicane, or just loses the rear end. So it looks like he didn't collide with the wall, but he has returned to pit road. So I'm not quite sure what's happened to him there. Over there, we're going to go back to Antonio Bonacci, who at the moment getting quite close to Jake Duckwell. Duckwell didn't get the best of exits there. Coming out of the first chicane into the second chicane, who look to get a slightly better exit, as he does, I think, carry a little bit too much speed into that second chicane. Bianchi gets ever and ever closer in the number 17. 1.5 tenths to gap coming into the third and final chicane. Will he be able to get an equally good line? A little bit loose on exit, doesn't gain anything crucially from that corner. Oh, as it looks like Duckwall got another lockup coming into the hairpin. Now beyond, she is right onto the rear end of Duckwall. Surely he's going to duck to the inside. Coming down the back straight. So it looks like he pulled out a little bit early. Doesn't quite have that speed. However, he does have the inside line. Duckwall does choose to back off. Smart move from him. He'll maybe go for the exit coming out of the final chicane. And maybe try and get him back into turn 1. As it looks like we're having a battle further forward. So it looks like Peterson got overtaken by Brandon Doohan. Brandon Doohan in the process setting a 1:31.7, the quickest lap of the race here. As it looks like Doohan was 5/10 quicker than Peterson. In that final sector, that leads me to maybe believe that he might have made a mistake in that final sector, which caused him to lose a significant amount of time. They're just handed in the position. However, they will be right on the rear end. He'll be looking to maybe try that move back as quick as he can. As it looks like Brandon Doohan was a little bit quicker. 0.3 of a second into Sector 1. They're pretty much equal times in Sector 2. As the gap now, 0.5 of a second coming down the back straight. This is the perfect gap that he wants to get right on the rear end. But not too close to Brandon Doohan. And then maybe if he focuses on the exit out of the final chicane, he might be able to size up a move into turn 1. If he can make it work. Into the final chicane. I don't think he's quite close enough. 0.5 to gap coming down the main straight as we cross the line to make it lap 11. Brandon Doohan, I think, is safely up into second place for now. As it looks like on lap 11. Scott Cummins seems to be involved in an incident there. As he's gone off track. I want to see what happened to him. So now watching Scott Cummins in the 55 machine. He's coming into the final hairpin. What happens here? Okay, so he spins coming out of the hairpin. Really not ideal for him. Oh no! As it looks like I've just had word through my software that Gareth McAllister might have been involved in an incident. As he falls into the same thing, so he goes deep into the hairpin. Now he's coming back on track, he sees the wall. Ah! Okay, so it looks like he's all well and good. Gonna get me a heart attack there. Jared Ziegler now is on the back of Nick Peterson. So it looks like Peterson may have cooked up his tyres a little bit. He's now falling off the pace. Jared Ziegler now challenging for that podium spot. Ziegler at 2 spots from where we started. Started P5, now in P4, fighting for P3. Portends the gap coming into the final hairpin. As it looks like Peterson goes deep, gives Ziegler a shot, possibly maybe getting past. Over there he tucks back in behind, 2.5 tenths the gap coming round the kink on the final straight. We'll be able to get close enough. He gets very close but wisely chooses to back off. He's going to play this smartly and go for the exit in the final corner as it looks like Peterson might have got a little bit pear-shaped there. However, he's able to keep the gap out in front. Jared Ziegler without the best of exits coming out of Power Chicanes and quite able to challenge again. However, 6/10 the gap, anything can happen. As we pass the mid part in this race here tonight. In a couple laps time you'll see the drivers are setting quicker lap times now. In the low 31s it seems. So it looks like Chase Small has chose to enter pit road. He's the first man to do so. It looks like Ramos and Cummins also go down pit road. It looks like Barnett is now getting on the rear end of Ziegler, so he hasn't had the best of laps the last time by. Barnett is right on the back of him now. Oh, excuse me, Ziegler is still on the rear end of Peterson. Got a little bit confused there. Peterson is in front in P3 as it stands, however Ziegler's having a go. He's trying to get past, but it looks like he's catching him all in the wrong places. He's catching him in the zones where you can't really go for an overtake, or he doesn't want to risk the car. So he looks like he's just sticking him behind and maybe trying to wait for a mistake from Peterson to give him another chance. But it looks like at the moment it's not looking good. Oh, as it looks like Franchicha got involved in an instant there. And it took him out of the race. I'll see what happens. He locks up heavily coming into that corner. Spins the tyres. It looks like he just chooses to take the toe. Although we switch back to the battle, and Jared Ziegler on Peterson. Will Ziegler be able to have a go into turn one? He has a little bit of a look, but he's too far back. It's a very, very tricky corner to overtake, and it's just very easy to hit the inside curb a little bit hard if you're on the inside line and hit the person on the outside. So it's a very, very risky place. There aren't many easy overtaking zones into this corner, or into this track, excuse me. Probably the safest one into the braking zone of the hairpin. Everywhere else is just a little bit sketchy. It looks like Peterson locks up again. Ziegler's given that opportunity he's been waiting for. He's right on the rear end. Does not go too wide. Who will be better on the brakes? Who will be able to take the position? Peterson on the outside line. Better's Ziegler there. Now look, Ziegler takes a look down the inside. Oh, Peterson locks up and goes straight on. Giving Ziegler the position. Is Barnett's now on the rear end of him? That's a turn of events. So it looks like Barnett now is getting right up close to Peterson. Or will Peterson have the slip from Ziegler? Oh, just about to save him. Barnett has a look coming into the braking zone. Can't quite make it work. He's going to stick him behind for one more try here. He now switches to the inside coming into turn one. How's a look? Can't quite make it work. He'll maybe go for the switchback. But it looks like Peterson's got a nice exit. He's very, very close, but I don't think he'll be able to make a move. Coming into the first chicane, no, he sticks in behind. Very, very close fighting here tonight. It looks like we have some movement further back. To jump with Zeno, but it looks like there's a little bit of a pit frenzy. Massive gaggle of cars here tonight. As we're watching Peterson showing involved in an incident, he seems to be out of the race unless it's a massive blink that he's having. As he's falling down the order in P6 there now he is. So I'm not sure if Peterson may have had a connection issue. But it looks like he might be out of this race. Brandon Duando decides to go down pit road. Barnett takes the lead of the race. So now we head into that pit stop phase on lap 17 of 24 here. Barnett, one of the only drivers choosing to stay out. A lot of the drivers going down the pit lane. So now watching our pit lane camera, you can see so many cars there. It looks like our leaders have now exited pit road, excuse me. So 2.2 seconds the gap between Brandon Duan and Beaver. Duan could still be in for a run here. He does have the quickest lap of the race with a 31.7, which is around about a 10th quicker than Nick Beaver's best time. So Duan is on the pace here today. So he's back up to where he qualified now, P3. So after having not the best of starts, he's been able to slowly make his way up the field. Is now back into where he qualified. Now right on board with Duan, as it looks like... Who was that? Not quite sure who that was. That may have been a lap down car that he's just passed. Yes, it was. Yeah, that was the 21 of Philip Troyer he just passed there coming into the hairpin. That did, whoever sacrificed his line just a little bit. 2 seconds the gap now. As it looks like Barnett is able to go down pit road now after stretching it a little bit longer. Interesting to see. Maybe he saved a little bit of fuel. Or the drivers elsewhere are choosing to cut it a little bit short for safety reasons. However, though, he did get that extra lap, which is going to help him because he was on that lower fuel, so which means he had to spend less laps on the heavier fuel loads, which in theory should be quicker. As we're just heading out of that pit stop phase now, Xavier Sainev, your last man in pit road, as he makes his way out of pit exit now. In 9th place. As it looks like the gaps are starting to spread out just a little bit now. Jared Ziegler doing an absolutely brilliant job out front. Or, excuse me, Nick Beaver doing a brilliant job out front. Leading the pack pretty much start to finish here. As we're just going to run on board for this lap here. To just see what it's like to go quick here. At Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. can just see very, very little on the brakes. But he's careful to not overdrive that car, having a little bit of mid-corner oversteer. But that's fine if he can keep it in check for the exit, which he does. Now coming to the third and final chicane, it's a very, very difficult braking point to spot. Spots it pretty well, just about clips that inside apex. Get a little bit loose on him there, but that's really just the tyre starting to go. At this stage of the race, it depends how well you saved your rear tyres, but it's starting now, the period where you start to brake a little bit loose. The rear tyres just don't have as much grip as they used to have. You can see everyone in the field here has taken their minimum mandatory 1 pit stop. That's interesting. If you have a look how quick these drivers have been going, I'm not quite sure that's accurate. I know you say, so it looks like the quickest man on track at the moment. Nick Beaver down that backstretch going up to 157 miles an hour. I'm not sure if that will be behind the draft or just having an absolutely stonker of an exit. Where you can just see these drivers out front are hitting 155, 156, kind of 157 range. So they're all pretty equal in terms of their top speed that they've reached. As we can see though, Nick Beaver around about 3/10 quicker than Brandon Doohan last lap, so he is stretching out that gap just a little bit. He looks like he's doing a great job out there. We'll have to see if he managed to wrap it together, because we still have 4 laps remaining of this race as we cross the line, and that's 4 laps, anything could happen. That could be 4 laps you get caught by lap traffic, 4 laps to make a mistake. We've seen here in the 2011, I believe, Formula 1 race here at this track, he was starting to dry up after a wet session. Here's a battle for the lead between Jenson Button and Sebastian Vettel, and coming into the final lap, into the second chicane, Sebastian Vettel locks up that inside front tyre, and he just goes straight on, giving Jenson Button the win on the final lap of the race. So it's very, very important here to make sure you don't make a mistake in the dying moments, because it could mean everything. In this tight and technical first sector, there's a lot of places you can make mistakes, and equally as many places you can gain time. So it's a balance of how much risk you want to take, how much risk do you want to use, how much track do you want to use, how close do you want to get to those barriers, how much curbs do you want to take. Each comes with their own risks and benefits. As you can see here, Nick Beaver leading from pole position here. On lap 21 and 24, he's on track to bring it home for a feature race win, which is going to bring in the points which he needs. However, you've got to remember there is a reverse top 12 here at the League 0 Formula 3 League, where for the sprint race, the top 12 drivers are reversed. So, for example, as it stands, Nick Beaver would start the sprint race on P12. And Opitz would start in the provisional, or that pole position from that sprint race. So basically what that does is it makes up the field a little bit. Makes it so the leaders who won the last race have more of a challenge. They have to work their way through the traffic. So they may be quick on the 1 lap pace, they may be quick out front, but it's how well they can get those moves done, how quickly they can make their way through the pack, which will determine how well they'll do here tonight in the further races. So you may be able to lead from the front, which is A really good skill on its own. It's also another skill to get through the pack, weaving between cars, making up as many spots as possible as quick as possible. As it looks like Nick Beaver is coming up behind Michael Scott now. In a 71 machine to go for the overtake. Scott won't put up a fight because he is a lap down and he will have those blue flags. Now then, coming on to the penultimate lap, 2 seconds the gap between Brandon Doohan and Nick Beaver, our leader, as it looks like Brandon Doohan was able to close loads through that final chicane. It looks like he had a little bit of a stonker through there. He was able to maybe nail that line. As you can see Michael getting out of the way very nicely. However, though, before we could anywhere, it looks like Antonio Bianchi is showing involved in an incident. I'm not quite sure if he's fallen victim to the same thing so many other drivers have here. As it looks like, yeah, he goes straight on through that final chicane. Or final hairpin, excuse me. Not sure why he's showing as crashed. However, that would have definitely hampered his time. He is still in P5, which is where he qualified here tonight. Over there, we're going to switch to Scott Cummins as he comes up behind Levi Opitz, battling for that P13 position here. We're going to go on board with Scott Cummins in the 55 as the American gets ever and ever closer to the back of the McLaren painted car of Opitz. As you can see, he's lifting off into that final chicane. He's trying to set up that exit, as it looks like Opitz does chonk the wall a little bit there. Not having the best of exit. Cummins now is right on his rear diffuser. He's a little bit far back. Will he try and make a move into turn 1? He has a look. Opitz does leave him the room, however he can't quite make it stick. Opitz going a little bit deep into the second part of the corner. But he managed to stay ahead of Scott Cummins. Coming into the first sector, there isn't a whole lot of place you can overtake here. It's all about staying close and maybe waiting for a mistake. This is a good overtaking spot, however, it's one of the best in the first sector. As it looks like Opitz does have a little bit of a blink there. Cummins getting a little bit of an oversteer moment there. Coming out of the second part of the second chicane there, which has increased the gap to about a second. Which is not brilliant for him. That's all he gets. Oh, ooh. It's all kind of pear-shaped there. Coming out of that final chicane. However, though, Nick Beaver on the final lap of the race is starting to come up behind him. I see that battle going on ahead of him. However, though, Nick Beaver, all he has to do is bring it through the line. Brandon Doohan 1.2 seconds behind. So he's not out of the fight yet. If something happens in this final chicane, he could have a shot. But I think reasonably he's done all he can. He's closed that gap through the final laps, but it wasn't quite enough. He'll come out the final corner now to round out today's race. As Nick Beaver crossed the line to win the feature race, followed by Brandon Doohan closely behind, 1.1 seconds. Now watch Barnett. Gareth McAllister, though, finishing in P8, up 5 spots from where he began. Over Frankie Fanchicha, also up 8 spots. But I think the man of the hour, Stephen Hill, up 12 spots from where he started in P10 at the moment, after starting in P22. He's made his way up the field, maybe taking advantage of some other people coming into trouble. But he's had to make a few overtakes here tonight to be able to make up those positions. As Gareth McAllister comes home in 8th. Javier Sainave coming home in 9th. Stephen Hill, your next man to cross the line. However, though, Nick Beaver with a brilliant race. He definitely deserved that win. 100%. I'm just going to try and get our top 3 here tonight for interviews in just a second here. Right then, so just going to bring up our race results here for tonight. It looks like they are unavailable. Not quite sure why that has happened. Below, Jarek Ziegler coming home in that P3 spot, driving a great race there, making up a cool position, having a couple battles there as well. Just take us a little run through, I suppose, Jared, on how that race went for you.
Oh, yeah, I figured out how to start the car finally. Last week I had a horrific start from pole, so I finally did a little bit of practice and got off the line pretty well. Got up to I believe P4 right away, so nice little jump start there. And from there it was just managing the tires. The tires are starting to wear on these things a lot more than they used to be. So just keep the rear tires under control, and the cars will kind of just slowly come to you, Nick. It sucks that he had his computer crash on him mid-race, but he was burning up his rears, and I was slowly starting to get him before the pit stop. And once got through pit stop, it was basically just sailing home from there.
Yeah, over a brilliant race though. However, definitely some good battles, and yeah, obviously taking advantage of Nick's computer crash, unfortunately. However, though, that is important points coming home in P3, and yeah, hopefully you can replicate that in the sprint race. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 2 podiums and 3 races so far this season. So I believe that's points lead coming out of this race entering the sprint. So I'll gladly take it. Let's hope we can get some decent points in the sprint.
Yeah, 100%, and yeah, hopefully we see you back on the podium.
Yeah, hopefully I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Right then, that was Jared Ziegler coming home in P3. Brandon Duan coming home in P2 though. A great race from him, closing very, very close to Nick Beaver at the end of the race there. What was going on near the end? Do you think he was dropping off the pace, or did you definitely turn up a notch and just hope something happened?
I don't know. I think I turned it up maybe a touch, but I definitely didn't have the pace to catch him. I was just trying to stay in a spot where I could capitalize if he made a mistake, but he held it together. Good drive by him.
Yeah, that's very, very important. However, though, with the tyre strategy, we can see at this track it's very, very important to keep the keeping the rear tyres in check, excuse me, because if you don't control them early on in the race, you can definitely start to break loose. What's kind of the situation for you? How would you feel? Do you think you saved enough, or?
Yeah, I think that was definitely part of it. Not to push too much, because I think once you cross a certain point, you can't get any exit speed. You just slide around, like you said. So, yeah, that's definitely something that I kept in mind a lot more here than I do other tracks.
Yeah, there's a lot of traction. Well, yeah, a lot of traction zones, and that's where you can go to overtake. Over though, big points as well. Coming home in P2 in the feature race, coming home with the big money. How does that feel?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's been a while since I've raced, so it's nice to come back to a podium. But yeah, good race to everybody. Good effort, everyone.
Yeah. Hopefully, though, because obviously you're starting back in P11 with the reverse grid, hopefully you can make your way pretty quickly and see yourself on the podium again.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, then. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you in a bit.
All right.
Yeah. That was Brandon Duan. However, though, the man of the hour, Nick Beaver, leading from pole position right to the end, driving a great race. What was kind of the strategy going into this? Were you thinking, like, were you trying to push maximum, trying to get that gap, or what was the idea?
Yeah, I was doing the best I could to try to grow a gap. I surprised myself by qualifying on the pole, and so I thought I'd try to do one up myself by maintaining a gap, growing the gap. I'm very happy with how that went. I'm very surprised with how that went. But Brandon, man, he was fast. He, after pit stops, closed 2 seconds. Really kept me on my toes the whole race.
Yeah, 100%. We can see that gap just coming down in the final moments, kind of going through the nerves. What was kind of going through your head? Were you kind of getting a little bit worried there, or like, were you trying to stay focused?
I was definitely doing my best to stay focused. I was trying not to overdrive the car. Tires were slowly fading, and I knew each lap I might have to back up, a quarter car length or something, just to make sure that I keep all 4 tires on track. I did make a couple mistakes, and I quickly learned from those mistakes, and that was lucky enough to keep me up front.
Yeah, 100%. We're having comments from pretty much all the drivers about how those rear tyres like to give way if you don't look after them. Obviously, though, starting back in P12, what's kind of the strategy going into the sprint race? Are you going to try and make as much positions as possible? Are you trying to take as little risk as possible and maybe try and bring home points capitalizing on other people's mistakes?
Yeah, I think maybe a top 6 would be a pretty safe goal. So keeping it clean first few laps is definitely my biggest goal. It's my first night with the league, so I don't fully know what to expect within the pack. I'm just going to try to keep it clean and make sure I don't get in anybody else. I don't want to make any rivals on the first night.
Obviously, on the feature race, on your first race, bringing home the big points, surely that will be a good place to start. Definitely. I would say putting your stamp on the league. Anyway, though, hopefully, maybe just maybe we'll see you back on the podium. We'll have to wait and see. But it's been great talking to you, Nick.
All right, thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye.
That was your top 3 here tonight. So that is the feature race wrapped up. Now we got a 12-lap sprint race, which is half the distance of the feature race we have just had. The difference being obviously only being 12 laps. Tyres aren't as much of a problem, and obviously there won't be any pit stop period during this race, so it'll all be about your pure speed and how well you manage that traffic. Obviously our quick drivers after the reverse grid will have to make their way through the pack, which can be a little bit risky. So we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. We just have a little bit of a break between the races here today. So we have 10 minutes where the drivers can maybe get a little bit of practice in, or they can choose to go get a drink or go to the bathroom, whichever they so please. So we're approximately 3 minutes of that left. So, reflecting on that race, we could definitely see there were some fast faces going on, like Nick Beaver, like Jared Ziegler, or Brandon Dewan as well. Very, very quick drivers. However, we did have a couple of drivers who weren't as fortunate getting involved with some incidents, or maybe not taking care of those front tyres as well as they could have done, meaning they just slowly drop down the order because of the mistakes they make, or it could mean terminal. Obviously, with Nick Peterson being pretty unlucky there. It looks like his computer blue screened halfway through the race, which would explain why he just disappeared off the face of the earth, really. Hopefully he can make his way back for this second race. However, he's looking pretty dire because he will be starting very, very far back because he isn't in that top 12. He won't be able to start near the front. He'll be starting right at the back of the grid. Starting in the pack as well, usually there's a lot of people who are quite close in that mid-pack, and also a lot of differences as well. You have kind of that top 6 drivers who will be starting behind the slower 6 drivers in that top 12. So obviously you're going to have to make your way around them and have to be a bit more considerate because they're slower drivers or slower average lap times. You have to take into account maybe they might make a mistake in front of you, or maybe they might not be able to take as much speed through that corners as you. So it's all about how you manage that and how you think it through. Drivers have to be quite intelligent on how they approach things, because you could pull off a 100 IQ play, which could bring you the win or big points finishes. Obviously, the sprint race only being worth half the points because it is half the distance isn't as much, or it doesn't carry as much weight as the feature race. However, it is a great spot to make up some time, and also a really bad spot to lose points as well. If your championship rival gets really good points and you fail to finish within the points, it could mean big, big problems. Obviously, so early on in the season, it's difficult to tell who we're looking at to be the quick guys. However, though, we have seen a little bit of a glimpse of who maybe we'll see now and again throughout the season with the pace. As we just got around about a minute left before the beginning of this sprint race here tonight. I'm definitely excited for this one. You know, so we definitely saw there are a lot of overtaking opportunities coming into kind of the final sector and into turn 1 is kind of where all the overtakes happen here today. A lot of drivers, more than I would have thought, choosing to go down the inside of the final chicane, which can be a little bit of a problem if you're still kind of too wide and someone doesn't back out, because it can lose you big time to the cars around you. So they'll have to manage kind of how much time they lose, be careful and be really careful and smart and where they make those overtaking moves to make sure they don't lose as much time. Especially though with our faster drivers finishing or starting kind of in that bottom half of the top 12, it could mean it could be a massive factor that could play on how well they finish this race. Now then, Felipe Ramos will be starting on that pole position as they're now pulling up their grid. So Felipe Ramos will be starting first, John Kasai starting second, followed by Stephen Hill, Xavier Sainave, Gareth McAllister starting fifth, Frankie Vicic starting sixth, Jake Duckwell starting seventh, Antonio Bonacci starting eighth, followed by Nick Barnett starting P9, followed by Jared Ziegler P10, Brandon Duan, and our winner from the last race, Nick Beaver starting P12. Followed by Levi Opitz starting P13, Scott Cummins starting 14th, Michael B. Scott starting 15th, Fairchild starting 16th, Troy starting 17th, Peterson 18th, Chase Small starting 19th, Peter Ressinger 20th. So it looks like the race is getting underway here, the lights are going. And lights out, and away we go. Ramos off to a good start on the inside, as he kind of blazes past the pack a little bit there. Definitely getting that gap that he wants. Gareth McAllister though making big moves around the outside. John Casado is able to hold it quite well on the inside line. Gareth McAllister isn't quite able to take that opportunity. So now heading in, we have Battle slightly further back as well. It looks like Duckwell's under threat from Ziegler. Ziegler made the way up 2 positions now, up into P8. And the first few corners getting a little bit loose there, breaking loose on the braking zone, locking up those rear tyres, which is not what you want early on. However, though, our leader Nick Bieber ran the outside of 2 people, maybe 3. So now making our way into the final chicane, up 2 spots from where he began. An absolutely brilliant start from him, as it looks like we have somebody, I think that's Ramos. Ramos, the person who started first in this race. That's a little bit of an oopsie coming into that corner. Oh! Oh no! Big collision there in that hairpin, causing massive damage. Gareth McAllister coming out on top. He is now leading the race with Antonio Bonacci closely following. That was definitely a shake and definitely a massive turn of events there. Our top 3 all got taken out there. But it looks like Bianchi is making a move down the inside into the final chicanes. We go 2 wide, 6 back there. Looks like Bianchi is able to better Gareth McAllister onto the brakes. Now plus Antonio Bonacci up into the provisional to that first spot. An absolutely brilliant overtake from him. So it looks like somebody's had a little bit of an incident there in the pink car. I'm not quite sure who that was. I think there may have been Frankie Vicic involved in that one. However, though, on Stephen Hill, Levi Opitz, on Michael Fairchild, that is, in the 88, isn't quite able to make that move stick. However, going a little bit further forward. It looks like Ramos is making up place again down the inside of Zainave. As it looks like, he also gives position to Scott Cummins there. However, they're moving further back. Gareth McAllister is now under threat from Jared Ziegler. Jared Ziegler's been able to make up loads of spots, up 7 from where he started. All the way up from P11 up into P3 already. He's now jumped on board with him as he seeks down the Australian. As he has a tiny bit of a look down the inside of the hairpin. Isn't quite able to make the move work because he's a little bit too far back. He's going to sit in behind and hopefully wait for something to happen. As it looks like Scott Cummins is able to hold off the position for Zainave. throwing a move, isn't quite able to do it. However, looking further up front, Ziegler is down the inside into chicane as well. Gareth McAllister is forced to back out there. And now he has behind him Nick Beaver, the person who won that first race. He's now getting very, very close to the back of the Australian, seeking for an opportunity, waiting for a mistake to happen so we can capitalise on him. Jake Duckwall there with the fastest lap of the race. Nick Beaver just waiting for an opportunity to overtake Gareth. We know he's quicker. Why is he going to make the move? Gareth makes a little bit of a mistake. It looks like Nick Beaver now looks to the inside line, coming down the middle straight. And now too wide. Beaver on the inside. He will be better on the brakes. Nick Beaver very, very late there. Oh, as he hits the grass a little bit. Gareth McAllister has a little bit of a look, but he can't quite get past. So Scribner's getting involved now. Scribner is down the inside. Sorry, that's Jake Duckwell's. Nick Beaver gets a touch there as he's sent from the hairpin. As he shuffled back down the order, I don't think he does have damage, which is very, very fortunate. These cars can be and are known to be very, very delicate here. However, Gareth McAllister is back up into third place. Jake Duckwell is now around the outside, or will be around the outside now, coming into the final chicane. Nick Beaver closely following. He would like to make it 3 wide, but we all know that wouldn't work coming into that corner. So they're still 2 wide coming through the final chicane. Oh, Gareth McAllister gets a touch and he's into the wall of champions. Spraying parts all over the track. That's very, very unfortunate there. Definitely not what he would have wanted. The 99 of Jake Duckwell is able to get away from that pretty unscathed. That's a little bit of a lockup, but Nick Beaver can't quite get past him once again. Gareth McAllister losing out big time from that one. I think we need to switch to a race replay of that one and see it. Okay, so it looks like here as we go into quarter speed, he's just, oh, a little bit of net code there, and he's just sent flying. He careens into the wall of champions. Oh no. That's not really what he wants. However, we switch back to the battle which subsequents from it. Nick Beaver is still trying to get past Jake Duckwell. As he switch back on board with Nick Beaver there. Isn't quite able to make the move stick to begin with. Gonna switch back to the battle for the lead though. Jared Ziegler. I think he's fallen victim there. Had a little bit of a mistake, I believe. Allowing Antonio Bianchi the opportunity to get close to him. 2.5 tenths the gap for the battle for the lead now. Antonio Bianchi getting very, very close to the back of the 57 car of Jared Ziegler. Isn't quite able to make the move into turn 1, unfortunately. But the back Nick Beaver is also unable to make the move on Duckwall. So it looks like our top 4 will stay the same at the moment. So if there were 2 battles going on subsequently, or simultaneously even, Antonio Bianchi looks like he has the pace over Jared Ziegler, as he gets a little bit loose there, coming into the braking zone for the second chicane. Oh, he's braking very loose there. It looks like he tapped the wall just slightly. May have taken a tiny little bit of wing damage from that. However, Nick Beaver once again is going to get another opportunity, possibly come into the braking zone, or just get closer to Duckwall. And maybe get an opportunity down the straight if he can line up a good exit. Duckwall does lock the brakes, so does Beaver though. Coming out of the corner, Beaver does look like he has a better exit. Will he be able to capitalise on that? Going down the back straight, it looks like he may be a little bit too far away to make the move. However, he gets ever and ever closer. He'll want to set up the exit. He takes it easier in the braking zone, planning to use all the track possible. Duckwall does as well. just not quite close enough. Ziegler coming with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:31.9. Very, very competitive lap from the American. Looks like Duckwall missed his apex just an inch there, allowing Nick Beaver to ace the corner and get ever closer. Two and a half tenths the gap coming out of second chicane. Coming down the middle straight. Will he be able to get close enough and maybe make a move into the hairpin? Into the braking zone we go. Will Beaver be able to get close enough for the move? 2 tenths is the gap. He has a look. Duckwall goes defensive, which will compromise his line coming out of the exit. Nick Beaver ever closer now. 3 tenths the gap, but you can see how close the distance is between the front wing and the diffuser of Jake Duckwall. Going down the back straight now. 2.5 tenths it is. Beaver does have enough speed to maybe try and make a move, but I think he's too far back to really make it work. Coming out of the final chicane, it looks like Jake Duckwall has a little bit of a mistake, allowing Beaver the opportunity to brake to the outside line as he betters him on the brake so much there. I'm not sure if Jake Duckwall allowed him past, because he's just able to make it look so easy there in the number 10. American showing us how it's done here today at the League Zero Formula 3 League, the premier iRacing Formula 3 League. Now as the gaps start to subside a little bit, lap 7 of 12, we passed the midpoint of the race as we have 5 laps remaining as we cross the line. We can just hear the roar of these engines as they push upwards of 7,000 revolutions per minute. Nick Beaver though able to stretch around about a 6 tenths gap. Duckwall does get a better exit coming out of the hairpin though, but he will be too far back to make a move initially. Duckwall 4 tenths behind coming into turn 1. So it's definitely not over yet. Duckwall may be able to throw up another chance, maybe. If Nick Beaver makes a mistake, he'd be right back on the rear end and he could have possibly a go at getting him back. As he jump on board with the Ferrari 99. And very, very careful with the gears, as you should be. As the gears are so... well, I wouldn't say that, they're quite significant. And when you downshift, you could definitely break loose. The rear end can be very light under braking if you don't treat it right. Also, although it is a 12-lap race, you may start to feel the effects of tyre wear near to the end. So it is very, very important that you do keep your rear end in check and not overheat them. Because as soon as that temperature starts to skyrocket, that could mean the end. If you then break loose out of a corner, it could be all finished. However though, Jared Ziegler coming home second in the feature race is now up into first place. Our leader, our winner of the feature race, Nick Beaver, stuck down in P3 at the moment, as he does have a 5.5 second gap to Antonio Benacci. As we have a look at the best times here, because Jared Ziegler currently does have the fastest lap at the moment of 1:31.9. He is doing very, very well out there. However, I am interested to see how Nick Beaver is doing with the clean air. See if he is able to eke some extra pace out of that car. We pull up our sector times. As we round out the final corner. Does he set a quicker lap time? He was 3/10 quicker. Oh, sorry, Antonio Benanchi was actually 3/10 quicker through that final sector. So he's able to maybe just hook it up just a little bit more. And does mean he gained a 10th on Nick Beaver that last lap. Over there, if we switch to Antonio Benanchi, we can see a lap time delta here between Beaver and Benanchi. So it looks like Beaver on lap 5 and 6 was 4/10 and 1 second quicker than Bianchi. However though, oh, who's that? It's not Gareth McAllister. Who was that in the yellow car that just went off then? I believe that was Kenneth Hudak. I have to get a replay on that one, see what happened to him in front of, or behind our second place driver. He goes deep into the braking zone and just sends himself lawn mowing over the grass. Giving the grass a little bit of a fresh trim. Over here we can see though, Bianchi, the past 2 laps has been 2/10 and 2.5 quicker than our leader at the moment. So he is still showing pace. Through that final lap we'll have to see. Bianchi was 0.5 slower that time by. So it looks like these drivers are kind of trading how quickly they want their laps to go. 2.2 seconds the gap at the moment between our P1 and P2 drivers. And you've got to have a look at this. It looks like Kenneth Hudak has involved himself in another incident. As it looks like he had a little bit of an off-track moment. Yeah, so it looks like he just locked up and outbraked himself. And had to go down the escape road in order to avoid hitting into a wall. Although that is going to not help him really in terms of lap time. It does mean that he will still be able to continue in this race. However though, the gap between our leaders, 4.4 seconds. So unless Jared Ziegler said an absolutely stonking lap time, Bianchi was also involved in mistakes. I think he has. I think we'll have to get a replay on that as well. We're rolling on board with Antonio Bianchi here. We'll have to wait and see. It looks like we're coming into the infamous hairpin. He outbrakes himself, goes deep, and just loses a bunch of time there. He just got very, very slow. So it looks like he may have been able to... I think he was serving a slowdown. You can see he's getting onto the brakes down the straight. That must be why. Although we switch back to our live TV cameras on lap 12 of 12 here today. Jared Ziegler is now on his way to become the sprint race leader. Or sprint race winner, excuse me. Big points for him, putting him in the lead of that championship, which is very, very early on. Exactly what you want. The early lead gives you comfort in knowing that you're not 100% under maximum pressure. Because if you make a mistake, all you got to do is just get a good race after it. If you're that close to make up the losses, I suppose. However, though, being in the lead is where you always want to be, and this is where this man is. Jared Ziegler coming down the back straightaway. Only has 2 corners to go before he will be crowned the sprint race winner here tonight. The Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve coming through the final chicane now. Here comes across the line to win the sprint race here today. Nick Beaver going to come home in 3rd place after winning the feature race. That is exactly what he wants. He was expecting a top 6. He's got better. P3 it is for the man from the Midwest. Further back, Felipe Ramos is going to come home 6th. Up 8 spots from where we started. Scott Cummings coming home in P6. The hardest charger here tonight, followed by Kenneth Hudak, starting from near the back of the grid, finishing P9 up 13 spots from where he started. From P22 on the grid, he's made his way up into P9. Just waiting our final driver now to cross the line, Stephen Hill. Unfortunately not having the best of starts, starting near the front, battling for the lead of the race into turn 1. Unfortunately, fell victim and he finishes in P8, down 5 spots from where he started. So then, our official results: Jared Ziegler coming home for the win, Antonio Bonacci coming home in 2nd, followed by Nick Beaver 3rd, Jake Duckwall finishing 4th, excuse me. Felipe F. Ramos coming home in P5, Scott Cummins 6th, Levi Opitz 7th, followed by Stephen Hill in P8, Kenneth Hudak coming home in P9, followed by Connor Scribner in P10, rounding out. That is your top 10. Gareth McAllister falling out, having that incident into the Wall of Champions. He must be winning this championship because he crashed into the Wall of Champions, which means he has to be a champion, surely. Coming home in P11, followed by Xavier Seynave, P12. Brendan Dewan coming home in P13. After having a really strong feature race, it looks like he got himself caught up on that 2nd lap, meaning that he did finish 11 laps down and was crashed out of today's race. Very unfortunate for him. P14 finishes Michael Fairchild. John Kasai finishing in P15, followed by Mika Barnett, P16. Am I going to say this right? Franchicha, I think it is. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I definitely don't want to pronounce that wrong. Their name wrong. Nick Peterson coming home in P18. Unfortunately, I don't think he was able to start here today. So it looks like, yeah, Franchicha, Peterson, Rettinger and Bogart all did not start here today. Very unfortunate for them. We're going to pull up our drivers for the interviews very shortly now. So then, Antonio Bonacci, the Italian man, coming home in P3. Oh, excuse me, no, P2. Apologies for that one. A strong race from you. You were able to challenge Jared Ziegler on pace, but unfortunately you couldn't quite make it work. On the, I think it was the penultimate lap, lap 11 or lap 10. What quite happened there that caused you to lose so much time?
Oh yeah, coming into the hairpin there before the last chicane, I just kind of ran it wide there and had to get I got a slow down there, so I had to serve that, unfortunately. But other than that, it was I just didn't have the pace to keep with Jared, unfortunately. So my goal was to try and just stick behind him. But I unfortunately lost the draft there and then made a couple mistakes, so I couldn't quite keep with him there. But unfortunately, that's where I ended up finishing 2nd. I'll take it though. It's a P2 and a P5 in the feature, so good points result.
Yeah, it's a very good points result, ringing in the points early on in the season as well. But yeah, very strong race from you. Although you overall on the race, you weren't able to quite compete with him, you are looking very good on the single lap pace. Here and there, you are gaining on him. So definitely you weren't off the pace for sure. Yeah, kind of unfortunate really to get that slowdown, which kind of screwed you over a little bit. However though, before we sign off, is anyone at home, kind of friends, family, like to shout out?
I don't have anyone watching me, but I was gonna say shout out to my teammate Levi. He's always there for me, helping me out. I'm always helping him out. We got a good duo going there, and then shout out to the other guys who finished on the podium. That was a fun race there.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully we can see you on the podium shortly, or with races to come, excuse me. But yeah, very strong race from you. Well done.
Thanks.
Right then, that was your P2 man. Unfortunately, I may have interviewed them in the wrong order. Nick Beaver, after winning the feature race, comes home in P3. Definitely above your expectations. How'd that one go then?
there was a lot of chaos in between, but I'm very, very happy. And it's always a good night when you end up on the podium twice or in the interview booth twice in this case. So very good night. Exceeded my expectations both times.
Yeah, absolutely dominant from you. Very, very well done. However, though, I'd like to touch upon that incident which sent Gareth McAllister careening into the wall of champions. I didn't quite get a good angle on that because obviously you got a front row seat because you were sitting right behind the action. What quite happened there?
I wasn't entirely sure either. I backed off the entry to try to get a run off the exit because they were trying to go in side by side. And when I exited the corner, I didn't give enough room to the car in the middle. I made contact with him. I don't know if that was what caused the contact with the wall on the outside, but it was just a very interesting racing situation where three cars try to fit in the same space, and that never works out. I was lucky enough to get away with very minimal damage, but I think that damage kind of sealed my fate for the rest of the race.
You did finish 8 seconds behind, but it is a P3. You should definitely take it nonetheless. However, though, it was definitely a very dodge, going too wide through there, especially holding it as well. You seem to see drivers kind of backing off into the corner when they know it's kind of done and over, and maybe try and go for the exit out of the chicane, but they tried to go too wide all the way through because no one wants to give it the position, and I think it was a little bit of netcode that wasn't a little bit of play there, but it was definitely an interesting racing incident. Anyway, it's been great talking to you, Nick. Is there anyone, friends, family, sponsor, you'd like to shout out before you sign off?
Yeah, I've got a few people watching. We've got, oh gosh, let's see. We've got Nick Trollman, Brando. I don't know names. We got Jeff and oh my gosh. Well, anyway, and we'll call him Bay. Yeah, those are the fellows watching. So it's good to see them. Glad to see people watching. And thank you for doing the stream. This is great.
Yeah, I don't usually do them. I'm just filling in for James, which I'm sure you all love him. But yeah, he's off doing some other things. So fortunately, you got me for the week. Hopefully, I wasn't that bad.
No, it's great. Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks for doing this. And we'll see our other announcer next time.
Nice to meet you too, Nick. Yeah, maybe in the future we'll have to win and see. Yeah, hopefully I'll speak to you again sometime soon.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. That was your P3 man. And now, our winner of the sprint race here today, Jared Ziegler, coming home in P1. Great race from you. You showed great pace all the way through, starting from P11, working your way through the pack. Just give us a quick rundown, I suppose, on how that went for you.
Yeah, it was a good race. Set fastest lap of the race, so we maxed out our points today, or on the sprint part of the day. Yeah, the race was just a bit chaotic with the inverted grid. It messes some things up, but that's just how racing goes. Lap 1, hairpin, and the final chicane. I I might have needed some new pants after that, but once we survived lap 1, it was head down from there and had a good battle with Antonio. Sucks, I believe he hit the wall at a turn 4. I don't know if you consider that 4. Turn 3 or turn 4, that little chicane. He hit the wall there and kind of, I think he knocked his toe out. So it was basically a coast home from there. But I mean, it was a fun race. I'll gladly take it. I mean, maximum points. So that's the best you can do.
Yeah, 100%. Big points about early on the season does give you that comfort of being quite in front. But yeah, before we sign off, is there any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, League Zero for running the league. They do a great job. Gareth McAllister, he let me go in the final chicane, so I was actually able to try and chase down Antonio. It was like lap 2 or lap 3 or something. He did that to me, so props to him. It helped me out tremendously. Of course, family, friends, everyone watching. Norman King, Mustard Seed Racing. I might not be on their team anymore, but they still do an amazing job over there. And of course, all the admins and youth broadcasting and Racing for Children's do a great job. Charity over there based in Alabama. Go check them out. Of course, help cure blood and blood disorders and childhood cancer. So try and help them out as much as we can. And let's have a good week. I believe we're at Silverstone next week. So let's try and repeat this result then.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely what you want to be doing. But yeah, been great speaking to you, Jared. Great to meet you, and hopefully, if I ever come back, yeah,
Talk to you again.
yeah.
Yeah. Did a great job, so I'll gladly trying to get some more podiums for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. See you then, Jared.
Yeah, thank you.
Right then, that was your first place driver, Jared Ziegler. Absolutely chaotic race there. Definitely to say the sprint race did encounter some incidents which may be reviewed by race control later on. We'll have to wait and see on that one. However, there was a great one to cast, and definitely enjoyed it. But yeah, I'm filling in for James East here for this week. I'm not sure if he'll be returning. You'll have to wait and see. But definitely, I enjoy the league. It's definitely one they were definitely looking out for. Obviously, next week in Silverstone will be the next race. Obviously, following the Formula 1 schedule, the track in the centre of the UK is definitely, it's a very interesting track, very wide, a lot of overtaking opportunities into pretty much every corner. Also some iconic sections, Mags and Beckett's as well. Don't miss a moment of the action. Make sure to subscribe to Team Goon Squad so you get notified whenever we go live and for the next race of the League Zero Racing Series, the premier Formula 3 iRacing League. My name's Fitzsimmons on behalf of Team Goon Squad, and we'll see